We're so glad to be here again this time, and welcome to the Clarity Sessions. I think that we hadn't done, we didn't do this in July and June, but we're glad to be back as well. For anyone that will be watching this for the first time, so the reason why the Clarity Session started was because we wanted to be able to help people find that spark that can help them make that next decision. So we realized that a lot of things that causes people to delay in decisions that they want to make or in the lifestyle they want to change, it's typically because they don't have clarity. They're not exactly sure. And one of the examples that we always give whenever we talk about clarity sessions is the fact that when you have clarity of intention, like the universe makes it happen. Basically, if you say that you want to buy a red Toyota Camry, we kind of realize that it's when you begin to see a red Toyota Camry everywhere. So it's not jazz. It's not like it just began to happen. It's just the idea that you are sure, you've sort of accepted it, and now you have the sheer of mind to be able to kind of see that, oh, the different of this type of car, and so the possibility comes as well for us. And so, again, like I said, when you have the clarity of intention, the universe makes it happen for you. For today, for this month, we're going to talk about leading high performance team. I think that this topic is very interesting because if you break it down into different layers, there's the first layer of leading, which is already hard on its own. Like, how do you lead people? For those who run their businesses, whether it's small, big, for those who are in teams and organization and you have to manage people, how do you lead? Then the second bit for me is now, how do you lead high performance teams? Such that, so it's two things. Either you currently already have high performance teams, or you're trying to build high performance teams as well. And so that's how we think about it. So basically, why this topic for us is the idea that the work that we have, the current work environment today, it's very dynamic. And high performance does not happen by accident. It's built to clarity, consistency, and intentional leadership. I think that when you think of growth, people, myself included, sometimes will think that growth would happen accidentally. And sometimes because of how life happens, you stumble into growth opportunities. But I think that there's a place of intentional saying that, okay, I really am not great at this thing. It's the way my emotions play around. I need to bring it back. I need to manage it. And basically what we're trying to do with this session is to help you get to the point whereby you are able to consistently grow and equip you with the mindset and tools to create a thriving culture. Now, like what we always say for us is basically the goal is to build something that outlasts you, whether it's your team, whether it's your business, whether it's your career, just build something that outlives you. And I'm not the one sharing. I don't think I have the wealth of knowledge, at least, to bring this conversation to you. But it's a privilege and honor to have Bright UK come to share. So again, Bryce is a celebrity when it comes to public speaking and coaching and mentoring. It's just very humble. But Bright is a dynamic professional with multiple hats as an author, speaker, trainer, entrepreneur, policy advocate, and leadership coach. He's the principal consultant for Sixth Sense Leadership Consulting, an innovative strategy, training, and consulting. He's also the CEO of Scribe Tribe Africa. He's also the convener of the Lead Future Conference, which is happening sometimes later in the year. So with no further ado, please let's give Bright a warm welcome, and then we hand over the conversation to Bright to run us through what it means to actually build and lead high performance teams. So thank you for joining us, Bright. Over to you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Nifem. It's a pleasure being here at this time. Thank you for inviting me over. I can see Akintola Breakthrough, I can see Chinaza Imo, and the rest of us, Clara Ladipo. Thank you so very much for joining us. Well, I want to believe that you're going to have a great time today as we talk about leading performance teams. Of course, this is something that I'm always glad to do. Been doing this for quite some time, for years now, and it's always a pleasure when I have to interact with people on subjects around leadership. So let's get to this without further ado. I will be sharing my screen in a matter of seconds. I'll just appreciate if you confirm to me if you can see my screen right away. Okay.
It's not up yet. I'm just
It's not up yet, okay?
okay. It's up now.
All right. Good, good, good. So we're discussing on leading high performance teams. Leading high performance teams. Nifemi has introduced the topic already and introduced me as a facilitator. So we'll just get straight into it. So today we're going to cover a few things. I would speak to a few notes on this subject. Then we'll look at what I call the 5 pillars of high performance. And then we'll look at the leadership role in terms of enabling high performance. Just a few keynotes here. The first one is that high performing teams are composed of high performing people. As obvious as this might appear, sometimes we just have to emphasize it, right? Every time we see high performing teams, we see a team that is constantly churning out great results. It's not so much about the team as it is about the individuals that it is composed of. The mentality, the drive of each individual in the team is actually important. So it's people that make up teams. It's people that make up organizations. So no amount of money, no amount of system structure and all of that invested in organizations or teams, is going to create high performance if we are not making those investments as it relates to people, right? So at the center of high performance is people. Every other thing takes a secondary place, right? High performance is driven by the people within the teams and within the organizations. The second is that the people who are high performing are distinguished by their sense of empowerment. If you want someone to be a high performer, you need to ensure that that person is empowered. Every one of us can perform highly. The big question is whether we are empowered to perform at our best. I often say that sometimes the difference between two people is just a spark of inspiration and empowerment, right? If one person feels empowered, when they feel empowered, they're able to deliver. If they don't feel empowered, they are not going to be able to deliver at their best. People need to feel powerful. They need to feel that they can. They need to feel that they have both what it takes in terms of capacity, in terms of the autonomy, all right, to make things happen and to get things done. They have to feel that they have what it takes in order to get things done. And the third is that high performance, all right, consequence of empowerment doesn't happen by chance. It is enabled to happen, right? So this means that it's something that has to be, will I say, induced now. It has to be created. It would not happen by chance. It's not by accident. It happens by design. There has to be systems in place. And it is the primary task, the essential task of the leader, which is the number 4, the fourth thing that I'm saying today. That enabling high performance is the leader's essential task. It's the leader that creates the atmosphere for high performance. Teams are like flowers, they are like plants in a garden. And just like the gardener, the leader is there to create the right environment, the right conditions, remove the barriers, right? Weed out the barriers, the things that could hinder such kind of level of performance. It's the job of the leader to ensure that the team is performing highly. In fact, the essence of leadership is progress. And the way progress works, or the way progress is engendered, is that the leader himself, takes responsibility for that and initiates the conditions that creates high performance. Last year, August, Starbucks fired its CEO, right? The CEO has spent about 17 months at the organization, and during that time, the value of the company had gone. I think they had lost, 40 billion in a space of less than 2 years, right? And of course, they went on to hire another CEO who was the former CEO of Chipto. And the guy came in, and before you know it, in a matter of less than 24 hours, once he was announced as CEO, the valuation of the company went up again by $20 billion. You see that? You see, leaders are at the center of driving progress. And that's why when teams are not performing, we look out for the coach who is coaching them, who is the team leader, who is at the center of it all. Everything, like John Maxwell says, rises and falls on leadership. So in this context, the teams. All right, that said, there are 5 things I want to introduce us to, which I term the 5 core pillars of high performance. 5 core pillars of high performance. If you see people performing high, all right. First, look at the issue of clarity. You see, I like the fact that these sessions are called clarity webinars, clarity sessions, right? I mean, I don't know. I think that was just a coincidence because I wasn't even thinking about it when I wrote about clarity being a core driver of high performance. And so when I came here and Nifem was talking about the fact that when you desire a specific thing, you want a red car, it's almost like you can't stop seeing a red car, your mind is going straight to a red car. You know what exactly it is you want and you're going for it. That is, I mean, it was just surprising, was quite interesting. That is a very critical part of high performance, right? And we're going to be looking at how that actually plays out in the context of this subject. The second is energy, right? The third is ownership, they own it. And the fourth is capacity, finally, innovation. We're going to look at each of these distinguishing factors or pillars, as I call them, right? And this will form the framework around which this presentation will be centered around, right? So 5 things. High performance are high on clarity. They know who they are. They know how they work best. They know what success looks like. This is very much important. They are clear, right? We live in a world that is filled with uncertainties, but in the midst of the uncertainties, high performers are clear. You see, I like when I talk about high performance, I like to talk about it, especially in the area of sports. You know, take for example, some people who have defined high performance in the last years, like over 2 decades. In football, for example, would be Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi. And Cristiano Ronaldo in particular, I like talk about Cristiano Ronaldo because of the way he really takes the game to another level, right? And one thing you know is if you follow Cristiano Ronaldo's games, you notice that there has been different times, not once, not twice, not thrice, where his team has lost to a team, you know, maybe in the knockout stage of the competition. And he goes on to say, look, we're going to scale through, right? In fact, on different occasions, they have lost as much as 2-0. All right. And he says, look, there's going to be a next leg. I'm going to score a hat trick, right? There will be uncertainties, but he's clear about what success looks like for him. He's clear about what he believes about himself. He's clear about what he believes that would happen. So people who perform very highly are clear. Clarity is critical, right? It's critical for them, and they know what success really looks like as far as they are concerned, and so they go for it. The second is it's about energy. People who are high performance learn to create and sustain momentum. Pace matters to them. Speed matters to them. They have to keep things going no matter what. They keep things going. They keep things going. They keep things moving. All right. So that's also very important. Then you have the factor of ownership. They own whatever it is that they are involved in. They take responsibility for the outcomes, right? They believe that if anything is going to be, then it's up to me. They are not the kind of people who are laid back and passive. No, they are active, they are proactive as well. Then they have capacity. In terms of capacity, when we talk about capacity, we're looking at it from two sides. The first is a factor of expertise. They are good at what they do. The second part of it is that they are constantly improving at what they do. So they might be good, they might even be the best, right? But they keep on striving to get better in order to make their last work their best work, all right? Then the factor of innovation. They are always thinking of how they can make things better. How can they create new possibilities? They are very independent thinkers. So they think outside of the box. They think beyond the status quo. They want to innovate, they want to make things better. They push the limits of their potentials and, of course, push the limits of possibilities as well within the current teams and within their organizations as well. And so the job of a leader in the whole of this is to say, how do I enable my team to, or my team members to be clear? How do I ensure that they are always clear? How do I always ensure that we're creating and sustaining momentum? How do we ensure, that they have a sense of ownership and things like that? And this is where the crux of the matter is. To enable clarity, you have to learn as a leader to set clear targets and expectations. To enable energy and momentum, you have to learn how to generate and sustain momentum. If you want to enable ownership, you have to learn to create a culture of ownership and accountability. If you want to enable capacity, then you have to promote continuous learning and development. If you want to enable innovation, then you have to democratize decision making and prioritize psychological safety among your team, because people need to understand that it's okay to make mistakes. They need to be able to trust you. They need to be able to feel like they also belong to what is being done. So let's get to it. The first factor is clarity. We're going to be discussing these 5 factors. That's basically what today's presentation is really about. How exactly does a leader enable clarity within the teams? Of course, what exactly does clarity mean? Clarity means to be clear, right? Know exactly what you're doing, know exactly what you want to achieve, and make it so clear that it's unmistakable and unmissable, right? What exactly does clarity look like? Clarity means that each person can state the outcome that the team is looking to achieve in one sentence, right? When you say what exactly you want to do in this particular context, they know what it is. The moment they are not clear, it means that they cannot focus mentally. That's really what it means. Once people are not clear, they cannot focus mentally. Once they are not clear, they cannot, concentrate their energies into getting results. Second, it means they can translate strategy into daily priorities. So if our strategy is something that will be accomplished over the next 1 year, 1 year, 1 month, 1 quarter, half a month, half a year, or thereabout, each day they must know what exactly they have to do each day in order to move closer and closer to the end goal, right? So they must have the end game in mind such that they are unmistakably clear and they can tell what exactly they have to do each day to translate that strategy into daily priorities. Third is that they know how to own their roles and the decisions that they make, right? That's what clarity really means. They know their part in the entire scheme of things, right? So if everyone is working together in unity of purpose to achieve the same thing, they know what exactly is their own share of the work, right? If they don't know what's their share of the work, if anyone, not even, any team you're thinking about, if anyone does not know what their own share of the overall work really is, you might find them being laid back. You might find them slouching. You might find them not acting when you expect them to be very active, right? So why exactly does clarity matter? Number one is that it removes mental blocks. Just like the example, the illustration that Nifemi gave earlier, when you want a red card, if you're good for a red card, the moment you are clear, unmistakably clear that what you actually want is a red car, right? Scientists tell us that there's a thing as a concept of the reticular activating system, within our minds and of course our eyes, such that the eyes begins to filter everything that comes to the mind, and it concentrates basically on the kind of objects that the mind actually wants to see. All right, and that's why it seems like the moment you say you want a red car, you're seeing red cars everywhere. You become blind to other colors of cars, and it's not just a red car, maybe a specific kind of a red car, specific, car manufacturer, specific brand. The moment you say this is what you want, you begin to see it. You begin to see it almost everywhere. And the reason is because your mind is filtering out what you don't want and ensuring that you can only see what you want, right? And that's why mental blocks are taken away. So you are laser focused on what you want to achieve. Second is the fact of the fact that clarity helps to concentrate your focus and energy. When your focus is concentrated on one thing, what happens? Where attention goes, they say, energy flows and results actually show, right? Clarity also helps to prevent wasted efforts. If people are not clear, they can be doing the wrong things. And once they are doing the wrong things, time is going to be wasted, effort will be wasted, resources will be wasted. It's important that they are clear from the get-go. Fourth, it enables faster, confident decisions. When you know what the end game is, it's easy to make decisions in that light. Right. How do you enable clarity? 5 points here. The first one is that you need to be able to cascade your vision, right, into one pagers. All right. Let everyone know what exactly you're trying to achieve. And per time, just raise 3 SMART goals per time. Break everything into 3 SMART goals that we're actually looking to achieve. Once it's more than 3, it becomes difficult for people to even commit to memory, let alone going after it, right? Second, run a 10-minute weekly alignment check-in. Focus on top priority and blockers. All right, so what exactly are our priorities this week? That's the question you want to ask. For just 10 minutes, everyone needs to be unmistakably clear about what exactly you're doing every week. So in 10 minutes, just maybe your first Monday meeting, you want to ask, what exactly are we, trying to achieve this week? Everyone has to be able to state it. And when they state it, they need to know what exactly is a priority and what blockers are, what challenges they might encounter and how exactly you're going to be dealing with that. Then for every goal, you want to state 4 important things. For each of the goals, what is the outcome? How do we measure it? How do we measure performance? Who is the owner? To whom is this task being assigned, right? Who is responsible to ensure that this gets done? And what timeline are we looking at? So I give an example here. For example, we say that we want to increase the qualified inbound list on or before September 30th, all right? And we're going to be doing that, increase it by 25% from 200 to 250, and the owner of that assignment, the owner of that task responsible for this, for achievement of this goal, is Aisha. Aisha knows once she sees this that, okay, we're moving from 200 to 250. Currently, we have 200. All right. So she's able to track it each day she shows up at work. She knows that anything and everything she's doing must contribute to moving the inbound leads from 200 to 250. Of course, and there is a timeline attached to it. So she knows between now and 30th of September, this is what she has to focus on. Any other thing is a distraction as far as she's concerned, and then she goes for it. So people who are high performance, or better still, high performance teams are also very, very, very clear on what exactly it is they want to achieve. And of course, every one of these things, you can put them on a dashboard. Everything we've talked about here. Cascade this vision, make it simple. Everything should appear on a dashboard. It should be clear, concise, and precise. Everyone can see. They can see what what the performance looks like and what progress actually looks like per time. So they know exactly how their efforts is contributing to the progress of the goals that are set to be achieved, right? So that's about that for clarity. The second one is about momentum and energy. Momentum and energy. You know, when we're in school, we're told that energy is the capacity or the ability to do work. But as you progress in life, you realize that beyond how physics defines energy, you know, energy is the capacity to keep work moving, right? I mean, it's the capacity to keep work moving. Given the state of your mind, you are inspired, right? You're fired up. It's not just about being excited, it's about being committed, right? Um, what exactly does momentum and energy look like? It means that there are small wins in every sprint, right? It means that when people finish meetings, they have clear next steps, all right? Anything that keeps people fired up to perform. That's really what energy and momentum looks like, right? It means that they're identifying what blockers are early enough, not waiting until deadlines. They are dealing with blockers as quickly as possible, right? And why exactly does this matter? It matters because teams have to be motivated in order to perform highly. Like I said earlier, they have to feel empowered. It's very important. They have to feel empowered. And secondly, it converts strategy to sustained progress, which means that there is constant movement. Like I said, the essence of leadership is progress. The essence of leadership is progress, and leaders must consistently ensure that progress is being made. Let me also say this, that generally speaking, everyone moves in the direction of progress. Everyone also follows leaders who are making progress. All right. So it's important that leaders cater to the energy. They're able to read the energy in the room and ensure that everything and anything that is going on contributes to progress. How do you enable momentum? Break your work into 1 to 2 week sprints and limit work in and limit work in progress. So basically what we're saying is this: you need to ensure that whatever it is that you're doing, you can break it down. All right. Instead of waiting for when things will look perfect, what exactly can we start doing? How do we start? Where exactly are we starting from? How do we ensure that we keep things moving? That's really the goal. When the teams are performing highly, they are celebrating little wins. Like, each win matters because each win creates that shot, of a burst of energy within your system. So you want to ensure that there are indicators of progress, within short times. If you have your 6 months goal, for example, what exactly would success look like each month? What would it look like each week? What would it look like each day? You need to be able to break it down such that people can see it. And when they see it, they see the indicators are moving, and then of course they can celebrate that. Secondly is to institute short daily, weekly hurdles that spotlight one blocker and one win. In other words, you have to be able to deal with barriers, just like I said earlier when I was talking about clarity. When work, as you get to, as you get into the work, there is know-how, in pursuit of goals, in pursuit of objectives, in pursuit of visions and outcomes. There will be challenges, but as you are identifying the blockers, just like a gardener will take out weeds immediately they appear, you want to ensure that you're dealing with the blockers as quickly as possible. Then you have to celebrate wins, right? No matter how little, if someone was able to achieve anything tangible, celebrate it. The more we celebrate it, those little shout outs, right? Those little thumbs up, those little signs or gestures of approval, they make, the other people are seeing it, and they make the person who has even achieved that little win or contributed to that progress, feel somehow about themselves. And then it makes other people want to also get the same feeling. Guess what? They get going. All right. So it makes energy, it keeps energy sustained. Then remove recurring blockers. As the leader, it's your assignment, it's your essential role to ensure that you're dealing with the challenges that people are raising. Of course, are there challenges that they will have to deal with on their own? Oh yes, sometimes they have to be coached to deal with those issues. But more importantly, you must remember that the buck stops at your table. And finally, you want to ensure that you keep the atmosphere optimistic, keep it positive, regardless of whatever challenges they might be facing. In fact, you have to reframe challenges many times for people to see the challenges as opportunities so that the energy in the room does not go down. You have to keep to keep assuring them, helping them see the possibilities, helping them see why this matters, why this is possible, why this is sure and certain if they put in the effort. People have to be able to relate to the positive energy in the room. Ownership and accountability is the next thing. Ownership. You can't have a high-performing team if people are not taking ownership and accountability. What does ownership look like? Ownership means that people are able to see the entire vision, buy into it, key into it, own it, run with it, even when you are not there, right? There is this story of the time in Britain after the Second World War when a cathedral was being rebuilt, right? And someone walked up to these masons, this bricklayers, as we'll call them in local, the local labor will give to that, and asked them, what exactly are you doing? When he asked the first person, the first person said, well, I am just, breaking stones and molding bricks. And he said, okay, moved on to the second person and said, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm just here to earn my daily wages, right? Nigerians will say it's my urgent 2K, my daily 2K, as it were. Then he moved on to the third person and said, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm here building a cathedral. I'm contributing to the building of a cathedral of worship for many people, right? You see, amongst the three of them, they were doing the same thing, all right? But the way they saw what they were doing was different. And how they see or how they think about what they're doing was definitely going to impact the way they approach their work. You see, for that third person who was able to see the larger picture, the big picture, and owned it, the energy with which he's going to approach his work was going to be different. And you can tell that it's going to show in his performance, right? So when we talk about high performance, we can't talk about high performance without talking about the fact of ownership and accountability. People must be able to see the big vision and own it, right? So what exactly does it look like? Using this illustration that I have already made, it means that people are able to escalate issues early enough, but not just about escalating issues. It's one thing to say there is a challenge here, there's a problem here, but they are also proposing solutions, right? When you see people who merely talk about issues, challenges, problems, complaints, and things like that, wow, you know that they lack the capacity and they lack that sense of ownership. One of the things that comes to mind when I'm talking about a sense of ownership is the parable of the talents, which many of us have heard. Yes, it's originated in the Bible, but it has been used as illustrations in many corporate spaces, right? A master was going somewhere, gave his servants, managers, like you would call them, 5 talents to one. He gave 5 talents to another. He gave 2 talents to another. He gave 1 talent. The one who had 5, went on to multiply it to 10. The one who had 2 went on to multiply it to 4. The one who had 1, just thought that perhaps he felt cheated. Perhaps he felt he didn't know how to go about what it was. His assignment. For whatever reasons he did what he did. He actually kept the talent in the ground. And by the time the master came, he was merely complaining. I know you're a very wicked man. You're a very shrewd person. You like to read from where you don't swallow all of that. But you see, the interesting thing about complainers is that they are never high performance. They give more excuses than results, right? So high performance usually will model that problem-solving ability, not just problem-identifying ability, problem-solving ability. They come up with, they are able to see what the issues are and recommend solutions as quickly as they can. So it's something like, oh, here is this so and so and so just happened. However, I am doing so and so and so, and I'm trying to look into so and so and so, so that we can be able to, get past this. The most important thing is that they're keeping you informed. But as much as they are keeping you informed, they're also taking responsibility to see that the problem is also solved. Secondly, consistent single line owner updates. I said that already. Just they keep updating you, they keep you informed. So it's one thing to have, people talk a lot about employee experience, talk about customer experience, and all of that. People don't talk often about leadership experience or the entrepreneur or business owner experience or things like that. So what I mean is they expect that it is, when it comes to experience, it is usually top down. All right. So you as the leader should give your employees a good employee experience. The CEO should cater to employee experience. The business owner caters to employee experience. Then the employees cater to customer experience. You see that now. So it's usually top-down kind of thinking, but people don't talk about the upward kind of experience, which is where people who have ownership mentality actually are able to see past, right? And they have that sense of ownership enough to say, look, I want the person who has given me this work or who has assigned this role or delegated this work, this task to me, to also feel rested, to feel assured in my ability and my capacity to perform. So high performance will usually give you that peace of mind. That's a peace of mind that comes with delegating things to them. So that's what we talk about when we say that they are always giving proper updates. And not only that, they usually volunteer for stretch tasks. One thing about high performance is that they would always go the extra mile. Like I said earlier, for someone who thinks that, look, he is actually building a cathedral. You see, the joy of building that cathedral drives him beyond how much he's being paid. And so you will find that if you were to say, look, we have to work overnight to be able to deliver on so and so and so, he is most likely the person who's going to show, unlike the other two who are just there, for, and they see their job as being menial, and they see their job as being something light, right, and something not so significant. Because he sees significance in what he does, he stretches himself. He goes the extra mile to get things done and to make things happen. All right. So this is what ownership and accountability looks like. Why does this matter? Number one, it reduces supervision. It means that when you are there, if you have a team that ownership is common, if you have a team in which ownership is commonplace, you don't always have to be there for things to happen. That's the idea. You don't have to be there. You don't have to keep watching people. They get things done even on their own, right? Second, it speeds execution. When people know that they can own their work, they just go ahead and get it done, right? And give you the updates you need. And finally, it raises accountability. Yeah, like we said, they can take accountability for whatever it is. They take accountability for the time that it gets done, for what gets done, for how it gets done, for when it gets done. Very much important. Then we look at enabling ownership. How do you enable a sense of ownership? The first thing is about how you treat the people you work with. You have to treat them as partners. And when we talk about treating people as partners, anyway, that's really what engenders an ownership, a sense of ownership, right? But when we talk about treating people as partners, what exactly are we referring to? There are three things I like to focus on when I talk about ownership mentality and enabling ownership. The first aspect of it is stakeholding. Ownership, treating people as partners. If they are partners with you, it means that you see that they have a stake in the outcome. In other words, when we talk about stakeholding, it means that they have an interest. And that is non-negotiable. If I'm going to be a high performer in an organization, I must see how giving my best in that organization will not, beyond how much I am paid, how exactly does it also affect my own interest? That's the question that your team members are asking. You must find a way to see that they are vested. All right. So you have to ask yourself, how exactly or what exactly do I have to do to keep these people here, to keep them going? What exactly are their interests, and how exactly do I ensure that while they are working, their own interests are being met? That's how to see them as partners in the journey. Very, very much important. What interest do people have when they are working with an organization or they're working with you on any task? You know, their interests, aside money they are going to be paid, of course, money is important. It's non-negotiable, very important. High performance are usually the highest paid people. But aside that, the way they are treated also matters, right? In terms of growth, what does growth looks like for them? In terms of their future engagement, what exactly does it look like? You know, what can they work in a way that is as convenient or as suitable for them as possible? That's why there needs to be a flexibility. You have to show that you understand that they too have interest, that they are humans, that they have other things, they have what they are also looking to achieve while working with you. All right, it is very much important. Then the aspect of inclusion, right? You have to let them be able to contribute not only to the work, but to the ideas behind the work. All right. It's important that they have their own, they feel like they belong as far as the the decision making is concerned. They should be you should be transparent with them. In as much as you want them to be accountable to you, you also have to be accountable to them. If there are challenges, they have to know. When people feel a sense of belonging, it becomes easy for them to bring their best selves, their truest selves to work. Right? So inclusion is a critical part. They need to have a seat and they also need to have a say. All right, give them a say. Let them know how things are being done. Let them be able to contribute their ideas. Let them be part of the planning, be part of the decision making. When people are part of the planning and they are part of the decision making process, it becomes easy for them to own the decisions, you know, knowing that they were part of it from the very beginning. But when it's only instructions they are receiving, it becomes difficult. You see, going back to sports again, I watched an interview of Samuel Eto'o Phillips some years back, where he said, I mean, he was being coached by Pep Guardiola, and they had a rift. You know, one of the reasons they had a rift was because Pep Guardiola was trying to tell him exactly what to do on the pitch as a striker, and he was like, "You were never a striker. You don't even know how this thing works." He is the one who is a striker, and he was, a world-class prolific striker for that matter. So he knew what exactly was to be done, and he just needed Pep Guardiola to give him the, that sense of autonomy to be able to get things done on his own. You see, when people are involved in the strategic decision making, it becomes easy for them to even own the outcomes, to take ownership of the outcomes and ensure that things get done. All right. Finally, shared journey. You have to see that this is a shared journey. All right. This is progress for both the organization, for the team, and also for them. Very much important. Second is that you need to create a one-page team agreement, including decision rights and response, service level agreements. SLA is very much important. Then coach for autonomy, delegate with clear guardrails. Let them see what the outcomes are, what exactly are the limits, as far as the work is concerned. Limits to authority, limits to, to what they can do without you, without your approval or consent and things like that. When exactly do they get to escalate and how quickly, so all of this is very much important. Then you run weekly owner update rituals. All right. So what exactly is progress for you? What are the blockers? What's progress? What are the blockers? And of course, for each team member, they need to feel that you're carrying them along, right? In whatever it is that the task for the team is. So we need to have consistent conversation with each of them. You're asking, okay, what exactly are you doing now? What's progress? What's challenges? Just have conversations where they're able to demonstrate to you that they know exactly what is to be done. They are also doing it. They know what is to be done, why it is to be done, how it's to be done. They are also making progress on it, and they are also being able to identify what challenges might come up and what solutions they might also as well prefer. Then capacity. Capacity is about, the aggregation of anything and everything that helps them to get their work done, particularly in terms of their skills, their experience, their expertise, their knowledge, and sometimes it might even go beyond that. Sometimes it's about relationships as well, right? Sometimes you might know what is to be done. You don't know how exactly to get it done, but you know the right person to talk to get it done. So all of that comes into play when we talk about capacity. And that's why I said, first and foremost, it's about the aggregation of all kinds of capital, all kinds of resources to actualize results. Also, capacity looks like people closing skill gaps as quickly as possible. Okay, they need to get something done. They don't know how exactly to get it done, but with the growth mindset, they use that can learn. And so guess what? They get on as quickly as possible, learn something in order to be able to achieve something else. And then knowledge sharing becomes routine when they are able to not only do but also share knowledge. All right, knowledge transfer. I had a session with the Nigerian Customs Service last week where we're talking about the issue of knowledge transfer within teams, right? Especially when the team is intergenerational. There are older people there, there are younger people there, more experienced, lesser experienced. They're able to collaborate on projects. During the process of collaboration, there will be intergenerational knowledge transfer. That's very much important for driving sustainability. So capacity looks like people, ensuring that they are transferring knowledge so that from one person to the other, capacity also becomes a consistent thing within the team. It's not just about one person being able to do many things. It's about everybody being able to do stuff, being able to do something, to make things happen and to ensure that the outcome that the team is pursuing is being achieved. And then their ability to adopt new tools, new processes, they are constantly on the lookout. Besides, capacity also looks like learning, continuous learning. I'm going to talk about that as well. Continuous learning, they are learning and ensuring that they are adapting to new stuff. Earlier in my organization, we made it a trend, right? Or made a routine, better still, that every Monday when we come together, we have people who are sharing with us what they've learned, new things happening in the industry, new things, new things that they are learning, new trends that are showing up. What exactly do we need to know? What I might have studied, someone else has not studied, so they come to the team to share, right? And as they are sharing that, I'm also learning, right? So every one of us is on the same page because we understand that knowledge is the key. At the end of the day, knowledge is what ensures that we're able to get things done, and that at the highest level. So why exactly does capacity matter? The first, the fact that skills determine the ceiling of team performance, right? It sets the limits. At the end of the day, it sets the limits. What you don't know how to do, you cannot get done, right? But once you're able to get it done, then you go ahead to get it done. It is people who lack skill, who lack knowledge that complain the most, right? So the moment they are equipped, they feel empowered. And when they feel empowered, they go ahead to get things done. Secondly, is that learning determines growth rates. So how exactly the team will grow in terms of its performance, in terms of bottom line, depends a lot on how well they are learning, right? So how exactly do you enable capacity as the team lead? If you're leading a high performance team, if you're going to lead a high performance team, you must learn to protect time for learning, right? You have to be one who emphasizes the importance of learning, importance of upskilling, of knowledge gathering, of mentoring, anything that has to do with promoting continuous growth and development. You must be key on it. The best leaders I've worked with in the past would always, want to share knowledge. You always want to ask you questions, sit you down, to deal with, complex issues. They want to recommend a book here. They want to give you a book here. They want to recommend an event for you to attend, capacity building trainings and things like that. All of that is actually to ensure that they have what it takes to get the job done. Because the moment people don't have what it takes to get the job done, they will do more complaining than problem solving. Right? Problem solving requires capacity. Getting the job done requires capacity. So if you are a leader who has good intentions to ensure that people are delivering on their tasks, you must also ensure that people are being upskilled, right? So protect time for learning. Sometimes it looks like a weekly 20-minute slot, to talk about new things, to learn new things. Sometimes it looks like dedicating one day every month, to talk about something, people need to learn. Sometimes it looks like organizing full workshops, engaging, learning and development specialists or experts, to come in, conduct a needs analysis, and then deal with skill gaps, right? So that's what it could look like. All right. There was a lady who just started, just took over. I say take over that business very recently, along with some other family members. They should reach out. Look, the standards are dropping. People are not getting things done the way they ought to. And then she was like, okay, right. Can you just come also help look at what needs to be done and how you can come in to train leaders here, managers here, and ensure that the entire workforce is upskilled. And she understands that, yes, that's going to be a difference maker for them. And not only will it be a difference maker, it's also going to change the game in terms of their bottom line and their approach to their work. So what exactly are we doing? We're designing training for them as well. What exactly are we going to be able to do in order to enable them to be able to deliver on the outcomes that they are looking at? So building capacity is a non-negotiable when it comes to high performance. People who really perform at their best, oftentimes you would see, especially when they've owned their work, when they go home, when they get home, they are taking time to research. They are doing more learning on their own, not even just the one that they are being sponsored to do, but even beyond that, before people will get to a point where they are, they are self-starters when it comes to seeking knowledge and building capacity. You would have to have helped them to see the need for that, and kind of programmed them for continuous growth. And this is how you get it done. Pair micro learning with immediate application, set explicit capacity goals, into individual development plans. Then, of course, you rotate roles so that people can also learn to do different things, not just one thing. Then you sponsor short, low-cost experiments to learn and measure, just like I was talking about the lady. What kind of what learnings can you bring? What kind of training programs, workshops, seminars, and things like that can you engage them with on? Right. Then, of course, what low-cost experiments, pilot programs that people can do, in order to, discover new things and, of course, measure progress in that area. Then, of course, challenge them to grow, stretch them. People want to be stretched. Part of what people want to take out when they are leaving any organization is growth. That's one thing that, they can never lose. They might lose the money they are paid, right? But they can never lose the knowledge they've gotten. So when people work with you as a leader, they want to ensure that they are making progress in the area of growth. They are learning new things. So it's not wrong at all to stretch them. Just ensure that you know where the limits are so that you don't also stretch them beyond their limits so that they now begin to break and complain about their mental health. All right. Then, of course, pair them up with high performance, with other high performance. In fact, the way I say it is, pair them up with higher performance. So somebody might be performing highly, but when you pair him up with someone who is performing much more highly, guess what? He is challenged. He's challenged. He's seeing new possibilities. He's inspired. Then he's seeing that there is much more room for improvement, and then he wants to close that gap. Pair them up also with mentors. It's one thing for them to want to grow. It's another thing for them for you to ensure that they have people who can help them achieve that growth, right? And finally, share access to growth resources. I talked earlier about leaders who will give you a book to go and read, leaders who will give you access to courses that you can actually take, those who even sponsor you on their own accord, aside what the organization itself is going to do, but they are able to give you that access, take you to events where you can actually grow. These kind of things opens people up. It creates a drive. And before you know it, it's just like you are moving a car that is on neutral initially. Eventually, by the time you push the car, it's been on its own. You can push the car to a point where it can begin to, move on its own as well, right? Finally, we talk about the issue of innovation. Innovation is very, very critical. And high performers are, like I said earlier, they are always pushing beyond the borders of their current potential. They are pushing themselves to limits, and not only are they pushing themselves, but they are also pushing the organization. They are also pushing the team. They are also ensuring that progress is being made, right? The organization is getting better and better. So what exactly does it look like? It looks like small sheet experiments replacing long discussions. Instead of us just talking about things, let's get to it and let's see what is possible when we put our minds and our ideas to work. Second, diverse views shaping better solutions. You see, innovation does not begin in the lab. Innovation begins when you have team meetings. Do you allow people to air their opinion without fear? Do people feel they are safe, psychologically safe, to be able to speak up? Do people feel like they belong to what is happening? That's where innovation starts. It was earlier today, I was watching a video of a girl, just a reel on someone's WhatsApp status where a girl that was, very young girl of maybe 3 years old, the way she was gesticulating while singing, you can see the confidence. And I said to my wife, I said, you see, this is what confidence does to people. It literally liberates them and enables them to live authentically. They are able to live up to their truest selves and be themselves enough to release their potential. That's really what it is. When people feel psychologically safe, they feel like it's okay to say what they have in what is in their mind. They don't have to conform to other people's opinion. They can be original. Look, once they get to that level, you can be sure that innovation has started, because it means that they begin to think other than saying yes, other than nodding to anything and everything that is happening in the room. And so I'm saying that diverse views is very important. When we talk about diversity, we're saying, look, people are from different backgrounds, different professional backgrounds, different economic backgrounds, different social backgrounds, different tribes, different religion. All of those differences actually create some sense of uniqueness, and they bring some sort of originality and novelty into the room. So the more diverse we are, the more possibilities there are for us. And once we can harness the collective intelligence of each and every person in the room, innovation is going to be the result. Unfortunately, like I often say, weak leaders, when weak leaders are leading, what we often notice is that the superior's idea will actually be the one that eventually flies. But when strong leaders, great leaders lead, it is the superior ideas that win. In other words, you have to ask yourself, is it the superiority of the leader? The superiority of the position, or the superiority of the idea that matters to you? And if it is the superiority of the idea that matters to you, then you must be willing to listen to everybody and give everyone an equal and fair chance of expression. All right? Let them see that they value the contribution that they are bringing. If you don't value it, or they don't perceive that will be valued for what it's worth, they begin to bottle up. And they begin to just merely conform to what is being said. And then all you have is yes men. All right? The worst thing a leader can have is yes men around him. Yes, he's going to get some things done, but can only go so far. So what else does innovation look like? It means they feel they are safe. They feel safe to fail. All right? And learn from their mistakes as quickly as possible. If they always have to feel afraid, if they're always afraid of making mistakes, it becomes difficult for them to try new things, because innovation is actually expensive. I recall the story of there is a story I read somewhere. I can't even remember exactly where I read it, but it seems to be a real story, very real story. Someone committed a blunder that cost a company a lot of money. I think it was $10 or $50 million, right? And the guy tendered his resignation letter. Of course, as a good leader, taking accountability of the situation, he just tendered his resignation letter. Oh, and then when his boss received the letter, he was like, wow, you mean you want to resign? He said, yes. He said, why do you want to resign? And he explained, he said, no, I feel ashamed. I've done this, I've done that. What are you talking about? Is that why you want to resign? We've just spent $10 million actually training you. So you cannot afford to resign. So when people make mistakes, when they feel like, yes, if they make mistakes, they can bounce back from it. It's a whole lot of a different atmosphere that is created in such a place. That person who has lost $10 million has learned what it takes to not make that same mistake again. He is now going to move to another organization and go and use that knowledge, all right, to bring in more money for that organization. Why do you release that kind of person? That's the point. So they better want to keep the guy there and say, okay, yes, now that you've learned, now that you've made the mistake, now that you've learned from the mistake, ensure that you are able to use that knowledge here, all right, to develop this organization. We spent $10 million training you. You don't think you bring $100 million, for the organization like that. So again, people need to feel safe. They need to feel like they can be themselves, right? And they can make mistakes and move on from it. So why innovation matters? Of course, I think this is very, very evident. It fosters continuous improvement and is the engine of competitive advantage. At the end of the day, between two organizations, what matters is how fast each one of them is improving. Someone wrote a book years ago, and he said the title of the book was "It is not the big that eats the small; it is the fast that eats the slow." Right? Your speed in adapting to change is really what matters at the end of the day. I think if we recall very well, many years ago, Yahoo wanted to buy Google, and Google refused to sell. Now, Google was a much more forward-thinking company, right? And even though they were smaller, they were forward-thinking, they were very fast when it comes to adapting to change. You can't compare Yahoo and Google today any longer. So, again, like what the writer of that book titled his book, it is not the big that eats the small. It is actually the fast that eats the slow. And so innovation is key as far as competitive advantage is concerned. It's a difference maker. How do you enable innovation? You need to build psychological safety rituals. As a leader, you have to be vulnerable, right? You need to, when we say someone has to be vulnerable, it doesn't mean you have to make yourself a mat that everyone can walk over. No, that's not what it means. It means that you need to be true to yourself as a human. You need to be able to bring your humanity to work and let people see it. You need to be able to show them where you're making mistakes. The fact that you've made your mistakes and you've learned from it. When you're authentic, people feel people feel like they can be authentic with you. But when you only demonstrate some sort of superhuman attributes, you make people feel like you don't make mistakes, you make people feel like you only get things done, you only get good results, you've never had a bad day, you never had bad results, you're always high on energy and things like that. They would draw inspiration from that, but you see, when they are at their worst, they will not let you know because they feel like you cannot relate to that. So they will look out for people who can relate to that to speak with, if at all. And if they cannot find, they bottle up, and at the end of the day, a whole lot of things actually get down. And a whole lot of things actually get worse, right? So it's better as a leader, you're able to model vulnerability. Is also part of psychological safety is also having meetings where people can express themselves, without any fear of judgment. People can also talk about their failures, right? They can talk about learning curves, talk about mistakes and what they learned, from such kind of issues. And it's a no holds barred kind of conversation. Have it once a week, have it once a month, have it maybe once a quarter or something, but that kind of conversation should hold. right? Then democratize decisions, right? So part of how you enable innovation is to ensure that people can um, people can make decisions without you, at different levels, right? So that's important. Which kind of decisions can they make on their own without your involvement and carry on? Those kind of things help them to know where exactly, what exactly the limit of their own authority in quotes actually is. And then within that limit of their authority, they're able to take ownership. All right. Not only are they able to take ownership, they're also able to experiment, because sometimes people fail before they have to learn from their failure. All right. So they try it, they make decision, and it doesn't go well. Then they learn that, okay, this is what is not supposed, this is something we're not supposed to do, or this is not how to do something we are supposed to do. Right. So people need to learn from the failure and the success and the mistakes that they make. Right. However, it's important that you're able to democratize decisions. Decisions making should not rest solely on you. It should be able to be, people should be able to make decisions at different levels. Then run regular micro experiments. When we pilot with clear success criteria. So instead of things just taking off, you can have tasks, or you can have create scenarios, where people are able to take on experiments that will take little resources, instead of them having to go big and failing in a very big way. They can fail in a small way, and more like controlled environment. They can fail safely, and at the end of the day, come up with learning points. And finally, reward learning and experimentation as much as success. So oftentimes we want to reward or want to celebrate the person who has done it right. All right, who has put their best foot forward. But oftentimes, some other times, we have to learn to reward those who have experimented and learned from whatever experiment it is. It's very much important. When people feel safe, I still say it again, when people feel safe, they're able to bring their authentic self to work and deliver at their best. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much. I want to believe that we will have questions. I would like to take your questions and the questions that you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was very, almost felt like a course. Okay, taking it step by step. Thank you for the time. I don't know if anyone has any questions, so you can either just unmute your mic, or you can type out the questions in the chat for Bright to be able to answer. So if you have any questions, anything that you like to understand better about what it means to build or lead a high performance team based on the different points that Bright had covered, from clarity to innovation, you can just unmute your mic, or you can put the question in the chat. So just unmute now for anyone that has questions. Okay, it seems that no one has any questions for Bright.
Hi, sorry, Nathaniel. Hi, Mr. Bright. Thank you so much for such a good session. I just wanted to ask, to take us back a bit to the start. You had talked about prioritizing a lot, and I think one of the major things I took was putting up what you want to do into three main actionable goals. So can you just maybe say a bit around how to know what to drop for, what not to drop? I don't know if you understand me.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Okay, so when you're trying to put up everything you are doing, because you said you should put them into three actionable goals. So I'm saying, how do you know what to keep for later, or what to drop into those three, or do you have to model everything up into three goals?
Okay, so there are different ways to identify priorities. By the way, I should say thank you for that question because to enable other people to also learn from it. There are different ways to to identify what your priorities should be. But by the very definition, right? In fact, the way it sounds, when we see something is a priority, it means it's so important that it must be done, even if it means at the expense of others, right? So what you want to think about is the fact that your time, your energy is usually, and even resources generally are usually limited. It's in such context that we use the word priorities. For example, between morning or the beginning and the close of business, if we say something is a priority, it means that some other things might not be able to be achieved. If you look at 10 items you have on your list, you might not be able to achieve every one of the 10 within 9 to 5. So what are the things that you must achieve within that time? One way to say it is this: if you must achieve only one, if at all none of these things will be achieved, but only one will be achieved, what will that one be? You want to write it down, right? Then you run another iteration and say again, from the 9, if I will achieve only one, right, at the expense of every other one, right, which one amongst all of these we emerge as the one? Which one will give the most fulfillment, right? Which one will make the most impact? Which one is the most important at the end of the day? That's number 2. Then you do the same thing again for the remaining 8. If I were to achieve only one and the rest are not achieved, which one will that one? And then you have just 3. Every day you shouldn't have more than 3 priorities, right? Am I saying that you will achieve only 3 things in a day? No. But when you have just 3 things you are focused on, your focus becomes you become laser focused, and you're able to concentrate all your energies and your resources to that one thing, which ensures that it gets done almost every time. And you have to also learn to now practice this with your team, because we're not talking about how to become a high performer here. We're talking about how to enable high performance in your team. So you now also need to have to practice that with your team to say, look, guys, what do you think? We have 10 items on our list. What should be, if there is only one we are going to be able to be achieved, what would that one be? All right. So you practice the same system with your team, and at the end of the day, you're able to come with at least, at most, 3 priorities, per time that you guys are able to concentrate on, and it becomes easier for you to achieve your goals, regardless of how complex things might seem. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Bright. I think one thing that I started doing recently, it's a principle that is called, and I heard it from someone else, but it was Steve Jobs that did it first. It's called signal versus noise. And so let's say on Sunday, I have like my entire plan for the week. And on Monday morning, I go to say, okay, this is the major thing I want to achieve like for this week. Which of this list is the signal that would lead me to achieving that thing? So I put them there, maximum of 3, because signal is almost like these things are like the most important thing to achieving the goal. And noise, it's not noise but like I can do those ones. I don't have to prioritize them now. If I get the chance to do them, yes, but if I don't, I can also just leave them and keep like just minimum effort on them as well. It's something that I've kind of also helped me, just like, okay, this is the kind of life I want to live. Like, oh, I have this webinar on Friday. Now, for example, for this week, what's the signal? The signal is that I ensure that I get the speakers note out, I do this, blah, blah, blah. And noise is such like, oh, what are the extra things that I'll need to do? So basically, that's also something that I have used as well to kind of prioritize work, and also sort of prioritize work for my team, so that everyone kind of have an idea that okay, these are the goals that we are pursuing and all. I don't know if anyone, so thank you, Chan, thank you, Bright. Does anyone have any other question? Okay, I don't want to keep people waiting for too long, and so I want to say thank you to Bright. Thank you for taking our time. Thank you for the effort, like putting it in detail and just explaining everything that needs to be explained. I think like just running us through the whole points of from clarity to innovation, and each of the points having how people can enable that point has been very vital. And I think that everyone, at least even if you say that for next week now, I want to focus on clarity, and then from other, I want to focus on energy, and just sort of take it step by step, you'll be able to actually just kind of figure out what are the things that I need to adjust, what are the things that I need to do for my team, for my business, for myself, to be able to get to exactly where I need to be. So I think this has been an amazing session, and I just want to say thank you. If there are no other questions or other comments, I would just like to bring this to an end and just thank everyone that are taking out the time to join. Like always, the purpose of this session is to have them as a resource. So if you can check our website, monthlyinspires.com, you'll see where we have the resource for over 20 or 25 sessions that we've had, and you can just go through to just understand what it means to do certain things to give you clarity. And so thank you again, everybody. Thank you for the time. Thank you, Bright, for sharing. And this has been an amazing session. God